Hi, welcome to this video. Now this video is on the fear of failure. This is probably the biggest problem that virtually everybody who isn't successful has. They have this horror fear of failure that prevents them from ever being a success. So even though they desire the success, they fear the failure more. And I'm going to try and cover today. I've got quite a few things to remember, so I might have to refer to my notes a couple of times. But the whole point of this is the fear of failure that you have is an illusion, right? And that illusion has to be got rid of. Now, overcoming this is not really just overcoming it, it's a case of letting go of it. You see, the problem is, the reason you've got this fear of failure is that's what everybody tells you should have. You know who everybody is, don't you? Everybody's the unsuccessful people. Because if you go and ask a successful person, should you have a fear of failure, they'll say, no, you have to have a respect for it or something like that. But they don't have a fear for it because it's completely irrational. It's an irrational fear. Right, now, I'm going to open the door for you on the ways to get rid of this fear, the ways to overcome it and that sort of thing, the ways to dissolve it. But you have to walk through the door. I can't do that for you. I can only show you, look, this is how you get there. I don't have a fear of failure. Never had a fear of failure in my life. So all I can do is I can say, right, well, this is what you need to do. You know, and in effect, you're looking, you know, the way pathology would work is say, well, he's never had a fear of failure, therefore we can't study him because we need to study somebody who has got a fear of failure and learn how they're doing so that we don't do that. No, you've got to study somebody who hasn't got a fear of failure, and I don't have a fear of failure. Right? And so, you know, the section in the book I cover the fear of failure. I say to people, look, you might not get this the first time through, but if you go through it 10 times over a 10-day period, then you'll remove this fear of failure, because it's an irrational fear. You don't think it is right now because it's embedded so deep, but it is. Fear as a whole is a massive subject. You know, it's a case of, you know, fear is literally a worry about what may happen, not something that's happening now. Right? Fear doesn't exist in the animal world. Right? Fear is just an illusion. For example, you know, the dog, a cat, a rabbit, you know, anything. Nothing's fearing. Nothing lives in fear. All of a sudden, right, something happens and it deals with the problem. Right? And it deals with the problem and then it carries on with its life. Right? Or it gets killed. Right? There's no fear, you know, because they're not worried about what may happen in the future. Oh, will we have enough nuts to feed on in the winter? No, they're preparing for enough nuts. They're just going and doing the work that's involved getting them the right nuts so they can survive through the winter. Yeah? Fear is completely a human ailment. Right? So first off, you've got to understand that it's not real. Right? So your fear of failure is not real. Right? It's something that you've manufactured in your mind, and society has allowed you to do it, and they've enforced this fear of failure with a load of garbage. Right? And anyone who tells you that it's real is talking out their backside. They don't know what they're talking about. Right? Talk to somebody who knows how to not fear failure. Right? They know what they're talking about. So don't go and listen to some idiot who, you know, thinks that they know they've got a handle on it when they've got a fear of failure themselves. How you first overcome any fear, right, and this isn't just for failure, is to go for the worst case scenario. Fear is about not knowing, right? Fear is about not understanding the risks. Fear is about not having gone and experienced the risks, right? Now, I'll give you an example, right? When it started to go wrong for me, right, it was like over a period of 2 weeks, it just felt like it was turning, you know. It's like, oh, this isn't good, this isn't good, this could go the wrong way. You know, we could end up failing here. And over that period of 2 weeks, there was like a nervousness, anxious side of me. And I went, right, this is ridiculous. I don't even think it was 2 weeks, probably less than that. I just went, right, okay. Right, let's go and experience it then. Let's go and experience that failure. Right? Let's go and see what it looks like, see what it feels like. So I went right the way through. And I went, right, okay, all the way through. And it was a case of, right, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I worked out that the worst thing that could happen was I had done something illegal that I didn't know about, that I ended up getting convicted for, and I ended up getting a 2-year sentence in a minimum security prison. And that was the worst case scenario, right? That was it. Oh, and Alison would lose the home and she'd be housed by the council, and that was it. That was the worst case scenario, right? And so you know, once you've gone, right, okay, that's as far as it goes, right? Okay, now we're there. Now let's look at it. Right? This isn't how to get rid of all failure. This is just one particular example I'm showing you. But I'm now going and experiencing it, so my mind knows what's there. It doesn't think, oh, there'll be monsters there, but it'll be scared of them. Right? No, I'm going to go and experience it. You know, the cartographers used to do all the maps, and where they didn't know what was beyond the maps, they put there'd be monsters there. Right? That's what you're doing with fear. You're going, oh, well, there'll be monsters there. I'm not going to look at that. I don't want to face that. I can't face that in my life. I'm just going to deal with this. And what you do is, so then when I was there, I was like, right, okay, 2 years in prison. Well, what will that do for me? Well, I gave a lot of time to read, a lot of time to write, a lot of time to think, a lot of time to work out, get fit. You know, I'll probably, as it's an open prison, it's only 10 miles down the road, probably be allowed out at weekends or to work and that sort of thing. So, okay, so I get to get fit and I get to do all this stuff, and well, that's not so bad, right? Okay, Alison being in, you know, housed because I'd lost everything or something like that. Well, that's not so bad because I'd easily be able to turn on some money and she'd be able to make plenty of money. She wouldn't have to work or anything like that. And, you know, there was a load of techniques that I could do to bring it back. And it was like, okay, that would be bad, but it would only be a period of time. Then after that period of time, we'd be out of there and I'd be back onto making money again and make money in no time at all and that sort of thing. So it was a case of, all right, well, there's the failure. Getting back from it, I'd end up pretty super fit. Yeah, I'd probably have written a book. Yep, there's loads of ways back from it, and I'd have designed everything I've got because I'd have loads of time to think. So I'd actually turned that thing. I hadn't turned it on purpose. It was just a case of, it was an acceptance of what was. So I looked at it and went, well, I'm just, you know, that's what it looks like. That's what the worst case scenario. Then once I'd done that, I went, well, oh, by the way, there was nothing found, you know, it wasn't anything illegal or anything like that. So what I then did was I went, okay, well, what's most likely to happen? And it came way back from there, right, to what actually ended up happening, which was basically I went bankrupt. Alison was quite fine. It was quite okay. No problem at all. We didn't, you know, my properties and that sort of thing, well, I was offered them back recently. I don't want them back. But the point was that we'd gone, and it was where I thought it would actually end up. If it all went wrong, it did end up, right? So it was a case of, that was far better than the worst case scenario. But because I knew where that was, and because I knew how far it could go, and I'd gone and I'd accepted it and that sort of thing, and I'd gone through all that, I didn't have to think, oh, what may happen, you know, I'll be worried about what may happen in the future, right? So I was fearful of it. I wasn't fearful of it at all. It was a case of, I understood my risks, I understood what could happen and that sort of thing. Now, in business, it's a case of, you know, literally, you're looking for, you know, what I'd done effectively was I'd found acceptance and I had non-resistance to whatever happened. You know, the difference between unsuccessful people and successful people, well, there's many differences, but one of the differences is successful people look for solutions. Yeah? Unsuccessful people look for problems. Unsuccessful people look for reasons to fail. Right? Let's put it this way. We can all find the reasons to fail. That ain't hard. Right? If we sat there and went, right, well, let's look at all the reasons we could fail. Well, we could write down hundreds and hundreds, right, and thousands. Right? Successful people, well, what's the point of that? Well, I know all that. It's irrelevant. What's that got to do with getting me to there? Right? Successful people look for solutions. They look for the things that will help them get there. And as I said earlier in the previous video, successful people are focused on that because they know where they're going and they know what they've got to do to get there. Unsuccessful people are thinking about, well, I could fail this way over here, or I could fail this way over here. You know, what's that got to do with the price of bread? It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. The reason you fear is you cannot cope with the future. Your mind can't cope with the future. Do you know why it can't cope with the future? It's because it hasn't happened yet. You know, you don't know what's going to be. The variables are just unimaginable, right? So all you do is you go, right, okay, well, I'm going to look at what's likely, best, worst case scenario and that sort of thing. And you just apply the variables. You don't know what it be. You go, right, well, there's where it'll end up, and it ends up over here. Well, you know, you don't know where it's going to end up because the future isn't now. You can't cope with the future because the variables are too many. You know, you have got so many opportunities. in you as a person. You can keep going. You know, an entrepreneur is somebody who's considered, has the ability to start again without loss of enthusiasm, right? You know, that's no fear of failure, because it's a case of they failed, they picked themselves up again, and they're off and working again. You know, it's a case of that's no lack of enthusiasm. Right, okay. Your fear of failure is like a fear of walking. You know, it's a case of when you were a kid, you weren't really afraid of walking, were you? You know, you just did it, right? Because, you know, fear of walking is like everyone's doing it, therefore I can do it too. Now what happens is, as you get older, more and more junk builds up in the mind, as I've said before, and you start to doubt that you can walk, right? And as it gets worse, gets older and older, you doubt you can do anything, right? You know, once you get to 40, well, I'm 40 now, I bet if I don't do something quick, I'm gonna be in trouble. I'm 50 now, oh, this is my last chance. 60 now, well, it's all over for me. Like 70 now, I don't even know why I'm bothering looking at this. It's all ridiculous, right? You know, it's all about mindset. It's all about mindset. And in this case, if it doesn't matter, you know, look, Colonel Sanders is a brilliant example. Was he started Kentucky Fried Chicken at the age of 67 after living in the back of his car, right? You know, it's a case of, it's just mindset, right? He had the mindset of a multimillionaire. Simple as that. He had a mindset of an ultra high net worth individual, and he could do it, right? So it's a case of, it's all mindset. What you're doing with a fear of failure is you're asking to fail, right? But you're not asking to fail in a good sense, which I'm going to come on to in a minute. You're asking to fail in a bad sense, right? You want to fail by going, yeah, I've got this fear of failure. Your mind is so powerful, you're creating that failure, right? That's why you're scared of it, because you know you're creating the failure. You might not be able to verbalise it, you might not have put two and two together yet, but that's what you're doing, and instinctively you know that's what you're doing. So you don't think you can move forward. So you have a fear of failure, right? So you've got to remove that. Right, I'm going to cover exactly how to remove it in a second. Your fear comes from you thinking, will you be worse off then than you are now? Right? Luck, you know, luck falls to the people who are active. You know, you get so much more when you step forward. You don't know what's going to be there. You know, the experience you get, you know, your failure is a benefit. I'll cover the benefit in a minute, but it helps you with the next, right? I'll cover that. I'm going to cover that. Sorry, but I'm just going through these points. Success, you know, there's a couple of good points here. The formula for success is to double your rate of failure. You see success, see failure as a bad thing. I don't. I see failure as an essential part of success. Failure, you know, success lies on the far side of failure, right? You know, I had a friend come and stay with me last year, and he said to me, what's your biggest goal at the moment? And I said, to fail more. He looked at me as if to say, what are you talking about? Fail more. Well, if I fail more, I'll get to success quicker. So I'll increase my rate of failure. Because I know that success lies on the far side of failure, right? Whereas you think failure is a bad thing. You and society have been programmed not to fail since the very youngest of age, since just after you could start walking. You know, it's a case of you go to school, and it's a case of all the tests and everything about you not failing and not failing. No, you want to fail. You just want to learn from your failures, right? You know, Edison said it best when he said, well, today we have learned another way to fail, right? And it's a case of Henry Ford. Failure is merely an opportunity to begin again more intelligently. Brilliant. Such eloquent words. You know, that's it. You know, I absorb failure as an essential part of success. You fear it. And it's a case of your fear is irrational, irrelevant, and completely destroys your life. Because basically all the time that you're not living the life you want to be, because you're in this fear of failure, it's a case of you have to go, what is this fear of failure giving me? Is this fear of failure taking me towards where I want to go? Or is it taking me away from where I want to go? Right? That's it. It's that simple. Is this fear of failure helping me? Right? So you're thinking you're going to be worse off than you are then. Well, go and experience it. Will you be worse off? And when you go and experience it and you go to 10 on the factor of how bad it is scale, then you come back to what's most likely to happen, and you end up at 3, 4. And at 3, 4 you think, well, actually 3, 4, I can handle 3, 4. Yeah, okay. Now, because you've gone and experienced that, because you've gone and experienced the failure, right, and you've gone, And then you go, right, okay, I can expand. Right, well, what will I get out of this experience if it does fail? Well, I'll get the knowledge of how to do this. I'll get the knowledge of how to do that. I'll get the knowledge of how to begin again more intelligently. God, it's so powerful, that one. That really is so powerful. So effectively, you know, you will fail. You know, my goal is to fail more. And this is all cool, right? Because, you know, it's like, I can't remember, last year I started up 50 different internet businesses and that sort of thing. Like, you know, you'd start up 10 in the morning, 9 of them would fail, 1 of them would succeed. It's like, cool, 1 succeeded. Whereas most people would go, but 9 failed. No, 1 succeeded, right? That's all you need to get. You only need to get 1 success for 9 failures, right? And you're in, you know, you've got something magical going on. Right, there's good mistakes and there's bad mistakes, right? This is a good mistake. You failed because a business idea, a goal or something like that failed halfway along the line because you started out with incomplete information, right? Right? You're never going to have 100% information. You're never going to have the lot. You're never going to have it perfect. You're not going to have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. It's never going to happen. So a good failure is a failure because you've taken action and you failed, but you failed because you didn't have complete information, which means that when you failed, that's what I did wrong. Here you try again. It's just, I did that wrong. Right? Third, I got it right, bang, and you're away, right? You know, I had several failures and that sort of thing, and then I had success, because once I hit the sweet spot, it was a case of I know how to create it now, right? And it's a case of, you figure that skill can't be bought. You have to go and do it for yourself. Bad mistakes. A mistake of sloth, procrastination. Yeah, you've got the same information as when you could have started but didn't, and let's say you had started and you started and failed, but you failed because of lack of information, you'd look at that as failure, right? I wouldn't, because now you're there, whereas the person who's failed because of procrastination, they're still here, right? So you start again, and you know, look, they're still back here, back here, back here, back here. Get it? Right? It's a case of failure is a failure to act. That's proper failing, right? Proper failing is getting to the end of your life and knowing that you could have done so much more than you did, right? How many people on earth do you think die with that thought, right? Quite a few. You know, people don't regret what they've done, they regret what they don't do. Ask, you know, go and see one of these surveys done on people in the last few weeks of their life. They always say they regret more what they didn't do than what they did do. In business, it is not about knowing everything. It's about knowing enough. You know, you can watch a very good TV program and you can learn 70% about a subject in just 2, 3, 4 hours, right? 70, 80% even, right? To get to 90% in a subject might mean you have to go to study for 3, 4 months, right? It's a case of you don't need to know everything. You know, to be able to write a book, you know, you can go and ask anybody on writing books. All you've got to do is go and read the 3 best books in a subject and you're now an expert on it. It's a case of you can write a book in that subject. Excuse me. When I did give you an idea of how little you have to know sometimes, we were in window manufacturing and we wanted to go in, we were in window supply and we wanted to go into window manufacturing. So we bought this factory and we had to get some machinery in it. So somebody had gone and found us the machinery and we had to go down and look at it. And so, you know, I'd seen window machinery before as I walked through the factories of other people's factories and that sort of thing. I'd been a production guy, I knew about production, but I didn't actually know about window machinery. And so I went down to see this machinery. We walked around and we basically got a banker's draft in our hand for 20 grand to buy the machinery and that sort of thing. And 20 grand was a lot of money back then. And we went in and my partner said to me, he said, well, is this the window machinery we want? And I looked at it and I thought to myself, well, it sure looks like window making machinery to me. Yeah, all right, this is the stuff we want. Right? I had enough knowledge to know that I would fill in the blanks. Yeah. Now, if I had a fear of failure, I'd have never done that. Right? We went on to produce one of the highest producing manufacturing plants per person in the southeast of England, because it was a case of we did it. You know, I knew that I'd fill in the blanks. Yeah. It wasn't a case of, oh, well, I was worried about it, I had a fear of failure. No, I just did it. You know, fear of failure, what it is a case of this thing called ready, fire, aim. Yeah? when you're in a position of, right, once you've done all your analysis and you've got it to the stage where it's almost right, ready, fire, aim, get going, just get going, go and make some mistakes, go and fail a bit, right? Don't fail too big, you can mitigate it. I'm not saying go and do stupid stuff. What I'm saying is get going, go and do some stuff, right? And you'll be all right. You will find that the lessons you will learn from the failures will be far outweigh, and you will be alive. You are an amazing individual. You have got the ability to get over any of the hurdles you've had in your life. You've got the ability to get over them. And all the tools you needed to get over them were there when you needed them. Do you know how I know that? Because you're here now, right? So you've got over all of those adversities throughout your entire life, and you will do again, right? All the way through your life, all the way through your death, and past then. You'll get through every adversity because you'll deal with it then. What you can't deal with is you can't deal with what happens then, in the future. So what you've got to do is you've got to go and look at the future and accept it and mitigate your risks and that sort of thing and act boldly. Act boldly. You know, Napoleon Hill line, act boldly and unseen forces will come to your aid. When I went into property, I did loads of research, and I was in this lounge and I sat and I did all this research, and I did about, between 8 and 12 weeks, and it was just stacks and stacks and stacks of research, and I'd analysed that the property market was undervalued. And I went in and I went along and I said to people, I want to go into property. And everyone said, oh, you're not an expert, that sort of thing. You mustn't do it. You know, you're not a property expert. Property market's overvalued. It's not going to work. Blah blah blah. They all said this, right? It's a case of, you know, the only person who didn't was Alison, my wife, and basically I could have listened to those morons, right, who had done no research at all, but they weren't morons. They were just spouting garbage. They didn't know what they were talking about, right? And I was an idiot as well, because I shouldn't have even talked to them about it. Because why the hell was I telling them about it? Because I'm not, you know, going to those sort of people, they're going to instill failure and doubt because they're scared of it. So you don't go to somebody like that. You go to somebody who's done it, who's capable of doing it, and you say to him, I'm thinking about doing this. Can I do it? Yes, you can, but you need to do it this way, this way, this way, right? Where you're going is you're doing this problem wrong and that problem wrong. Get rid of those, replace them with that. So when you've got a situation where, you know, your fear of failure is all about going to the right sources. You know, if you just go and ask the right people, and they will give you an ability. It will instill confidence in you, right? Don't go to people who are going to help instill doubt, right? Those people were trying to instill doubt in me, and fortunately, I had a very good wife who basically turned around at me and said, "No, you're right. They're wrong. Bet everything we've got on it," and I did, you know. And look where it ended up. But you know, we had a hell of a ride. But the point is, where I am now is so much greater than where I would have ever been if I'd gone, oh no, I'll stay here. Yeah, it's a case of the knowledge I've got and what I acquired by stepping forward and, you know, getting past the fear of failure. You know, walking into, when I went and told everybody, I walked into that meeting, I had no thought of failure at all. To me, it was like, well, this is a done deal. I know what property market is. Went into that room, and about half a dozen or 8 or 9 people basically told me that I was wrong and that sort of thing. I'm coming out there thinking, well, all my peer group have just told me I'm wrong. Maybe they're right. It's a case of, no, I was an idiot. I shouldn't have gone and listened to it. I shouldn't have gone and spoken to uneducated people about it, right? This fear of failure is a complete illusion, right? What is it? Put your finger on it then. Go and explain to me where it is. You can't, because it's not there. Okay. Life just is. A failure is part of life, yeah? If you can fail and learn from it, you haven't failed. Proper failure is to not step forward, to not step up. Can you imagine? You're there in your deathbed, 88 years old, and you know, there's two people saw the same thing, and you're lying there, and you decided, God, I could get into that. You're a business partner, and you're thinking, oh, I could get into that, and he goes, I'm going to get into it, and you go, no, I don't think so, right? And he's off, right? And there you are on your deathbed, and the TV's on in the corner, and there's your partner on TV giving some speech or an acceptance for an award he's got, because his life changed and he went forward and yours stayed there, right? The thing is, it's fear of failure destroys lives. You know, you have to remove that. You have to get it out of your life because it has no value to you. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help you get to where you want to go. Okay, as I said, that video is a case. All I can do is I can show you how ridiculous your fear of failure is, and I can show you how to stand there and evaluate it. In other words, is this thought helping me? Yes, no, right? Yes, no. And every time you think it, okay, why am I having this thought of fear of failure now? Why am I doubting myself? Oh, I'm doubting myself because I don't know how to do this particular skill. Right. Okay. Can I learn that skill? Do I need to learn that skill now to move past this point? Yes, I do. Right. Okay. Learn that skill. Do I need to learn that skill now? No. By the time the business works, I'll go and employ somebody to figure that situation out. And if the business doesn't work, I don't need to employ that person. Right. Okay. I can move forward. All it is a process of evaluating your thoughts. Yeah. So once you just look at it and go, right, fear of failure. Oh, I've got fear of failure in my head. It's obviously no value. First off, I've noticed it. I've noticed that I've got fear of failure in my head. Very good. Now, is it of value? No. We know it's of no value. Okay, what's it trying to teach me? It's trying to teach me to become more self-aware and not be so blooming ridiculous that I've got a fear of failure. Okay, yep, right. Okay, well, how's this helping me? Well, what's the problem with it? The problem is I'm not confident about this. Okay, what do I need to do to become confident about this? Do you see what it is? You're just breaking it down. Baby steps, pigeon steps, problem solved, dissolved. That problem's dissolved. Right, okay, off you go. Right, oh, fear of failure again. Oh, right, okay, notice it. Right? And it's just a case of notice it. Right, okay, what's the problem? Oh, right, the problem is the van might break down. Right, okay, well, that's not now, is it? Right, okay, no, it's not now. I can go then. Right? Yeah, do you see what I mean? Every single thought you break down. Yeah? And it's just small steps. It's not one big thing that you can go, right, well, there it is. I've wiped the slate clean. No, you've got this ingrained program in your mind that's just garbage that's basically telling you that you're going to fail. Right? That's all the stuff that's behind. That's blooming useless, isn't it? You don't need any of that. You need the stuff that's in front that's helping you get from here to there. Right? So it's a case of if it isn't helping you, it's hurting you. And all you've got to do is just break it down one step at a time. Okay, as I said, you may want to go back through that video a few times and watch it. I wouldn't do it straight away. Maybe you want to do it straight away, but what I'd do is, if you still have the fear of failure, watch it again. Keep a note of this URL, so when the fear of failure comes up, watch the video again. Right? Or watch it every day for the next 10 days, just so that you can slowly change your thought patterns. Because what's gone on at the moment is you've got ingrained thoughts as this is the way it is, and that isn't the way it is, right? But to remove those ingrained thoughts, you need to introduce the new programming slowly. So it's a case of as it goes in, no rush. We don't do rush, right? Rush is for losers, right? Rushing never got you anywhere, did it? So what you've got is you've got a situation where you just slowly introduce it again and again and again, and start to notice. This is all about just noticing where you're doing it wrong. Okay, that's it. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to overcome this massive invisible obstacle that you've got. That once I've got through all of these videos and everything like that, and even if you go and read the books and everything like that, there's still an obstacle that's going to be behind you, right? That's hidden at the moment. And tomorrow, I'm going to show you how to overcome that little one, because that little one's the biggest problem you have after you've actually realised there's a problem. First thing is you've got to realise you've got a problem, right? I think you've got that now. Second problem is this obstacle, which is completely invisible, right? That you think's on your side, and I'm going to show you how to get rid of it tomorrow. Okay, well, not tomorrow, whatever the next video is. Okay, thanks for listening. I'll see you soon. Oh, and feel free to ask me any questions below and share this video with your friends. Thanks for listening.